Yeah. Okay, so there are over 50,000 students at MSU, and that means there are 50,000 people trying to find housing, and East Lansing is only 14 square miles, so it can be a tight fit. Today I'm going to teach you all how to find the perfect housing situation in the competitive market. I'll inform you that it's important to know the choices that are available and understand the touring and leasing processes of these options. The three main points I'll be getting at today are the prerequisites or the fundamentals before you start looking for housing, and once you start looking for housing, the apartment and housing options and their process to get these leases. Every student at MSU, including you all in this classroom, have gone through this process or are going to go through this process, so it's important to know what it's about. I both have successfully found both houses and apartments, so I'm here to share some of the tips and tricks I've learned along the way. Now, talking about the prerequisites, it's important to know these places and have a solid foundation before you start looking for houses. One of the prerequisites I thought of was you need to find your roommates and all agree on a price that you can afford. Pricing is a huge part of your college financial plan, and research shows that housing is one of the most important things when you're planning your college financial. A different amount of roommates can affect the pricing. Usually the more roommates you have, the less expensive it is depending on the places that you're looking at. So figuring out these situations before you go into housing is important for your financial plan. Another thing to consider is amenities. Things that you want. Do you want air conditioning? Are you okay with sharing a bedroom or a bathroom? Do you want a washer and dryer that's readily available, or do you have to go downstairs to go and do your laundry again? Do you want a gym or a pool, and how is parking? Do you have to pay for parking or maybe walk half a mile to your car every day? Another thing to consider is the location and what's beneficial for your classes. Some people have most of their classes on the east or the west side of campus, and so choosing a place that is beneficial to you and your roommates. Another thing you might consider is the distance to a bus stop, and that transportation to campus can be very helpful. Once you've figured out these three fundamentals, it's time to start looking at the actual housing. First, I'm going to be talking about apartments. Finding apartments is relatively easy. We have quite a few on campus and quite a few off campus. A simple Google search for apartments near me, you can find hundreds of apartments. They usually have their website, contact information, and their address for any questions that you have. Once you and your roommates have decided on apartments that you like, it's important to tour them and see them before you actually live, because some of the pictures are not accurate. A lot of apartments do scheduled tours, usually starting from early September to end of November, and you go tour these places, and once you decide on apartments that you like, you need to get the lease. It's important to read the website, call for any clarifying questions, fill out any paperwork, decide if you need a co-signer, and then pay the first month's rent once you get the apartment. Let's say you're tired of having noisy neighbors above and below you and sharing walls with a bunch of people. Maybe getting a house for you and your roommates is the best decision. So next, I'll be talking about some popular realty companies here at MSU. The first one, if any of you guys heard of it, is Hagen Realty. It's very popular. It has hundreds of houses north of Grand River, but it is super competitive. Another realty company is Campus Community Management. They do have apartments here, but it's mainly houses, again, north of Grand River, spanning from Forest to Virginia Street and all in between. The touring process for housing is different than apartments, as realties don't have an actual scheduled tour. You usually have to cold knock. So you and your roommates would create a list, you'd knock on all the doors and ask if you can tour the houses, and the students are pretty open because they've been in your shoes. Once you're touring the houses, take pictures and create pros and cons, and remember how you're feeling throughout those houses, because you're going to be viewing a lot of them and you will forget what it feels like in those houses. Once you've completed maybe 15 to 20 tours of houses, you rank your houses in your least to favorite, and hopefully you and your roommates all agree, otherwise it can create some turmoil. But discussing your priorities and verbalizing what you want in a house is important for those turmoil events. Once you guys have decided on your ranked houses, next is getting the lease. It's very competitive and difficult to get a lease for both Hagen and CCM. For Hagen, you have to show up one Friday in September at 9 in the morning to the realty office, and they raffle off the houses. So let's say they say the address for this house and you want it, and so do 30 other people. They'll roll a dice, and if it lands on your number, you get the house. So knowing what houses and having a lot of options are very important. CCM does a similar thing, but it's virtual. They'll give you a call, and they have hundreds of people to call, so you might be the last one on the list or the first one on the list. They'll give you a call, you answer and tell them your top houses, and hopefully one of them are available. As you can see, finding off-campus housing is really intimidating. It can be a stressful process. But as long as you and your roommates have a good foundation, you know the touring and leasing processes for each of the apartments or houses, it can be overall rewarding. Now that you're all aware of housing at MSU and how the operations work, I hope you can go into it with confidence, because college is a time to make lifelong memories, and finding a home here at Michigan State is just the beginning.